One of the things I like best about this applique method is it allows me to fussy cut my applique pieces. Here are the windows and applique templates I have cut out for this butterfly. Take your window of the piece that you want to cut out. This is a protector sheet that I have it put on. And then you can put it on your fabric and choose what part of your fabric you want your applique to be. So you can choose various parts of your fabric. And when you find one that you like, you take your applique piece fit it into the window, and then remove your window. Putting your piece back on the sheet protector. Now you are ready to cut out your particular applique piece. If you're not interested in fussy cutting, you can just take your piece and place it on your fabric. You need to be sure to leave a ½ inch at least between each of your applique pieces because you're going to be cutting out around here about a4 inch for your seam. Okay, now we're going to cut out the fabric. And when you do this, you need sharp scissors. On the part that has the underlay, so this part is going to go underneath the other wing, you just cut directly on the line that you have provided. But for the rest of it, you need to add at least an 1/8 inch, so somewhere between an 1/8 and a1/4 inch when you're cutting. And sometimes I forget, but with practice you can do this. If there's a sharp indentation, like there is on these scallops, you would clip into the center, but not past it, not past the pattern. And that will allow you to turn it more easily. This is the other part of the butterfly that I have cut out. And again, make sure that you cut into these places that are the deep parts. Then we're going to turn it over and we're going to apply the glue for the glue stick. All along the edges where the seam is. You don't need to apply the glue here, where you're going to have it underneath. Depending upon the weather and how fast you work, you may want to only do a portion of the seam, but sometimes you can do the whole thing. And if the glue dries out, you can put it on again. What the glue does is it makes your fabric more malleable. I use these tools that Kathy McNeil uses and Sandy Turner sells. And I like this part here that has the fork to hold down. And you notice you're doing this on the wrong side of the fabric. And you can just use the beveled portion to turn it. And then you kind of pull to the edge or push, whichever you need to do. If it doesn't stick, you can add more glue. So I just go along the edge and you see it's just peeking out. The pattern is just peeking out underneath. When I get to a corner, like I'm going to do here, I finish off, and you can always lift it if you get it in the wrong place. So I'm going to finish off this corner here. Pulling it towards the pattern itself. And you'll notice I have a part that's hanging over. Now I don't want a lot of bulk here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim that off. So you can see that on the other side, I'm trimming off this portion. And then I start back down the other way. Looks like I need a little more glue here, so can always apply that again. Okay, if I want a really sharp point here, I can turn it over and see that that's hanging off a little bit again. So I'm just going to trim off that little tiny bit there. And then it makes a sharp point. What you can also do is apply permanent glue right to that point so it maintains its sharpness and doesn't fray. Then I would continue along, and you can see how by cutting this in, it enables me to make these scallops. I have all 4 pieces of my butterfly turned now, and I've put my master pattern inside my sheet protector. What I'm going to do is start with the piece that's the farthest back, which is this part of the wing, and I'll put just a little tiny bit of glue on here just so it will hold it in place temporarily. And I'm matching the area. And I can see I have a little bit too much here, so I'm just going to cut that off because I want it to go under the body, but not beyond. And then the next wing that I have to put on is this one. Again, just a little tiny bit of glue, just to kind of hold it in place. Put that one on and match the pattern. This one is next. And then finally we put the body on. After the glue dries, then you're ready for the applique. Oops, I forgot to tell you, you need to put glue under here where they overlap. And under here. And underneath the body so that they'll stick together. If you're going to do machine applique, what I do is I use invisible thread, or you can use the taupe, and then I use a very small blanket stitch. So I have my blanket stitch here on 1 width and 4 length, so it's a very tiny stitch. Basically, you're just going to go around each of the pieces of your applique, and I find I have to go pretty slow, but you're just having the edge of your needle off of the applique, and then when it goes to the width, when it catches the edge of the applique, you're just turning your block as you go. Now I start out with a 13-inch block if I want it to end up 12.5, because when you applique, it does tend to shrink up a little bit, so it just gives you a little wiggle room there. Again, when you come to the corner, you probably need to slow down just as you would if you were driving a car. And I leave the needle down, have it in the needle down position, turn it, and then continue. And with the invisible thread, it really is almost invisible. Okay. To do hand applique, you'll need a thread that goes with the particular fabrics you have on top. Normally a taupe will go with almost every fabric. This is bottom line from Superior Threads, or you can use invisible thread, or if you didn't have quite so many colors, you could just use the different colors. Today I'm using the green here just so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Mainly you want to put the needle in behind your last stitch. So put it back a few threads, and then you're going to rock it kind of up. And when you rock it up, it should go through the edge of the applique. And then you pull it, and you pull it up. And when you pull it up, that should bury it behind the applique. So even though I'm using green thread, you can just barely see it there. So the idea is that you're going to go back from the stitch that you just made, and this is actually called a back stitch, and then up through the edge of your applique, maybe 1 or 2 threads beyond the edge. And then when you pull it, it should be buried behind the applique. When you get to a corner, you don't really want to go into the corner itself. You want to go under the corner. And to make sure that the corner doesn't fray, again, you can put the permanent glue under there. So when you're doing a sharp corner, you would bring it up and then go under the corner here, and then bring it up on the other side. If you don't hit the edge of the applique, you can turn it and then make it come up here. Just a thread or 2 into the applique edge itself. If your thread is knotting, you can use what's called thread magic or beeswax, and that will help it so that the thread doesn't knot. So again, the idea is to bury your thread. You can barely see that it's green there on the 2 stitches that I took.